Welcome to Channel 18 News. I'm Jim Rogers. Special Crimes Unit began an investigation into the possession and sale of methamphetamine by Monica Renee Milan, age 24, of Silver Springs. During the investigation, Special Crimes Unit observed Milan in the 1300 block of South League Street and made contact to arrest based on 2 warrants. During the arrest, she produced a clear plastic bag containing a crystal-like substance believed to be methamphetamine. The substance weighed 5.47 grams, including the packaging. Milam is in Hopkins County Jail, charged with possession of a controlled substance, penalty group 1, more than 4 grams but less than 200 grams, with intent to distribute, a felony 2. She's also held on warrants for violation of probation, forgery of financial instrument, and failure to maintain financial responsibility. Silver Springs School Board made preparations for the start of the new school year Monday night during their regular session. A grant designed to loan students equipment necessary to access digital technology when they are away from school was approved. Starting with the high school, 190 hotspots will be available for checkout through the high school library. 5 hotspots will be available for team buses to assist with homework while on trips. The hotspots will be available to students who do not have access to internet service in their homes. KJET, the wireless internet, will filter information that can be accessed and monitor what is downloaded, making that available to the school. The hotspots will be available to the students sometimes in the next 2 months. In other action items, the board approved a revised child nutrition meal payment and charge policy. Changes were made to the concussion oversight team. Dr. I.L. Baucom will be serving on that team as the doctor member. The board approved Ordinance 2-18, levying annual ad valorem tax of 1.35048, or $1.04 maintenance and operation, and 31 cents for interest and sinking, per $100 cash valuation for 2018. An application for value limitation agreement with Salome LLC will be considered by the board. Superintendent Lamb was authorized to review the application for completeness and submit the application to the Controller of Public Accounts and to approve any request for extension of the deadline for the board action beyond 150 days. They also retained attorneys and consultants to assist the district in reviewing and processing the application of value limitation agreement pursuant to Chapter 313 of the Texas Property Tax Code. Changes to the middle school and high school student handbook were minimum this year.
The world-famous Blackwood Quartet is coming to Hopkins County on Saturday, August 18th at the Riley Springs Community Center, and you are invited to get a ticket and be in the audience. Buddy and Ina Gore of Psalms 100 have a big history in gospel music. We sat down for a chat about the Blackwood Quartet.
But the Blackwood Quartet will be here, and you guys are opening.
Oh, we're so excited about that.
Fantastic. This will be our first.
A first time
this
with
is the first time
Blackwoods.
with
Yeah,
Blackwoods.
in all these years.
We were talking a while ago, the Blackwoods, one of the greatest, and the cathedrals with George Johnson. We never got to be on stage the same time those folks were, but the rest of them we pretty well.
And imagine that would happen here at Riley Springs.
I know.
Hopkins
what
County.
a blessing.
Yeah. I can go out here and show you where I was on stage.
They were actually the first quartet that made history in gospel music. They were the gospel music quartet of our generation, and probably this generation too, because there are no more new quartets like them coming along.
So this was Southern gospel music.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a family group.
Yeah, and you know, they've really got big roots back in Texas, because after the accident and everything, they came back to Fort Worth, Texas, and that got to be a big thing every year. After that, Blackwood's coming to Cowtown Coliseum, you know where that is, where they have the rodeo and everything. We had got a TV in 51, somewhere along I lived with my granddaddy, and they were on the Red Foley show, Jubilee.
He is dating himself.
Well, I'm telling you. And they come out there, and now listen, they had suits that would make Liberace look like a hobo.
Liberace.
You know, the piano player.
Yeah, that happens to
Y'all
be
remember that?
Liberace.
Well, that's close. But, I mean, they had shoes to match, socks to match, handkerchiefs to match, neckties to match. And Granddaddy used to say, they can't be gospel. Not looking that cruddy. You know, and they don't tell what them suits cost. But they set a trend that stayed and still is with gospel music. The suits, the matching deals.
This, the actual quartet that we're going to see is third generation.
Third generation.
And Mark Blackwood leads the group. There's 3 other hired singers that make up the Blackwood Quartet at this time. But you mentioned the accident, and if you'll tell the people just briefly what you mean by that, in 1954.
That was, see, Blackwood's first and everything. I mean, that's first.
They were the Blackwood
Briefly.
brothers at that time.
Yeah, briefly. Okay, briefly. You know, this first one to have a bus, first one to have the big cars to drive around in, first one to have an airplane. They were so popular in that year that they were booked everywhere. And they said the only way they could absolutely cover their bookings and have any time at home was to get a plane. So they got a plane. And I think it was, I forgot which one was pilot.
R.W. was the pilot.
R.W. was, okay. And the bass singer was a navigator, I believe.
That's right.
Yeah, and they had to practice because it was going to come in at night and land.
At that time, they didn't have lights on the roadways.
It was a dirt field, and cars would park and shine their lights.
They showed shining lights. Oh, they done that themselves right. But I mean, but you know, that's what it was. And he made 2 passes at it, and the way he approached the landing field was not good. He approached it the wrong way, and there's a hill, and that thing crashed. And
burned up right in front of everybody that was there.
Yeah, R.W. was 2 of them, I think, was burnt sitting in their seat, and the other 2 broke their necks or something like that.
But you know what, Enola, the blessing of that was that Ron did, thinking he could not go on, did decide to go ahead and keep the Blackwood name going. And thank goodness he did, because it's a legacy that we would not have today in gospel music had Ron not stepped up and said, yes, I will keep the Blackwood name going.
Something that I got out of this, hearing this story, and it was the agent for the Blackwood Quartet that called me on the phone this week and sort of piqued my interest and made me look all this up because I didn't know this history, is that this horrible accident actually bonded the gospel music community closer together.
Yes.
And only
Absolutely.
2 years later, the National Gospel Convention, annual
National
convention,
Quartet Convention.
right, was formed.
Yeah.
J.D. Sumner had something to do with that.
He did.
Oh yeah, they were some of the first. They were the board. I mean, part of the
J.D.
board.
was quite an entrepreneur, and he pushed the Blackwoods to be what they were, which it was a blessing that they actually hired him. And I was reading your notes and saying that, and something I did not know, that George Yonts of the Cathedral Quartet had actually tried out. So there's a lot of ifs, you know, what if they had hired John? What if they hadn't hired J.D.? Because J.D. actually made, with the Blackwood name, made the Blackwoods who they were.
Let's go back how J.D. got in. The bass singer got killed in the crash, so they had to have the bass singer. And R.W. said it had to be a God thing because this guy's name kept coming up every time, you know, they mentioned, well, we got to have some, and everybody said, well, there's this kid, J.D. Sumner, that's really good, and all. He said, finally, he approached J.D. And J.D. was singing with a group called the Sunshine Boys, which was a not known group, but they were popular. But I mean, nothing like the Black. If you had a good gospel group back in, you was popular. It's just how much your territory you covered. And so J.D. went on board as part owner. That's the only way to go.
And we know Elvis's connection with J.D. Sumner over the years. When this happened in '54, Elvis heard about it. He was told when Elvis' death occurred, the Blackwoods were called,
Yeah.
as many close friends were called. They're connected so much throughout their history.
Yes, they were. That was such an awesome thing that we were friends with one of the boys that used to sing with the Blackwoods many years ago. And he said that, and he cried when he talked about this, about how after every show, Elvis wanted to stay up then all night and sing gospel music. And he said, we would be so tired. And he said, I would be so tired that I would just say, please let this end and let me go to sleep. And that's when he started to cry. And he said, I would give anything to be able to go back and do that again.
Now, the other group that was big with Elvis was Jordan Ayers.
Now, they did a lot of recording with him.
They did,
but they did.
No, but
Blackwoods did their stage.
Yeah, they did it. So there was two that Elvis used. That was the only two. That in the sisters, the black
Inspiration.
group. Inspiration.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I believe
Sweet
that's what their name
Inspiration.
was. Yeah. That was his.
But Elvis loved J.D. Sumner, and J.D. Sumner loved Elvis, and that was such a connection between those folks.
Got a story on that too. J.D. said when he met Elvis Presley, he came in the back door of one of their concerts, and he walked up to the door and he said, "I ain't got no money, but I sure would like to see this show." J.D. Sumner said, "Well, you just come on in as my guest." That's how he met J.D. Sumner. He was a little, well, no, I don't know how little he was, but he was a young boy. And he said, this gospel music deal is my thing. And later on, J.D. found out Elvis could sing, and everywhere they went, well, of course, Elvis wanted to go, but of course he couldn't.
In reading some of this stuff, I learned that Elvis's family moved to Memphis when he was 13, placing him right there in the environment
thick of things.
for what he imagined in his mind.
We're so excited to be able to have the Blackwoods at Riley Springs Saturday night.
This Saturday
it's
night?
just right around the corner.
Well, this is going to round out the history of Riley Springs. I don't know, and I know there's several gospel groups that came to Riley Springs, and I'm sure probably the Blackwood Brothers have been there.
Maybe.
I don't know that for a fact, but I think everybody ever sung or played a guitar come through Riley Springs one time or another. But this will be a great thing for us to wind up our career on as the years go by.
Not winding up.
No,
the half of it, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, we are in August, late August.
With the gospel music coming back to Riley Springs in this content of having the
So
Blackwood.
thrilled about it. Bill Owens is also going to do an opener for us, and everybody that knows Bill Owens loves his enthusiasm and exuberance on that
he
keyboard.
Bounces around the
That's
stage.
right.
He's
And
a lot of fun.
Mark Blackwood, whom we're going to meet, along with the three others that make up this quartet. And part of this history, he was born 4 days before this crash happened, which claimed his uncle R.W.
Mm-hmm.
So R.W.'s brother Cecil Blackwood then stepped in as baritone. So Mark has been immersed in this lifestyle his entire life.
Well, it's great that he was able to keep the Blackwoods. I think there's 2 Blackwoods now.
There's a Blackwood Singers
And the
Branson, Blackwood Quartet.
Right, and there's a Blackwood in each one of those groups. So that is wonderful that there's still Blackwoods that are singing.
I don't know what was the Blackwood boy's name that had the show over next to Branson. We used
Ron.
Okay.
Ron Blackwood. He had a show at not Eureka's, Eureka's Run?
No, he had one at Pigeon Forge, and then they moved to Branson.
And he's a great guy. We always try to visit him if we could. Your turn.
I am thrilled to have y'all here this morning. We could just go on and on and on.
I know, we
But
never
it
have
is
enough time.
8:30
No, we couldn't
now.
either because I didn't have breakfast and I'm going to break for lunch.
Y'all say bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
See
Hey,
y'all
whatever you
Saturday.
do, make this. This is going to go down in history. Come on down.
Here's Don Julian with sports.
The first combined varsity and JV football practice ran 4 hours Monday evening inside and outside the multipurpose building. Wildcats football coach Greg Owens said the first day is always a little hectic getting things started. He said those players that took advantage of the summer program jumped right into things on Monday. The first hour of practice from 5 p.m. until 6 p.m. occurred inside, and players lifted weights, had walkthroughs, watched some videos, and worked on technique for special teams. Then the team hit the practice field at 6 p.m. Coach Owens pronounced the weather as phenomenal Monday. A lightning scare failed to materialize. The cloudy and windy conditions felt great, according to Coach Owens. Around 7:30 p.m., a big black cloud appeared overhead and dumped some rain on the practice. It lasted just a few minutes, and players didn't seem to miss a stride. Coach Owens described players' moods on Monday from excited to giddy to nervous. He said the coaches actually just have to teach technique, get players into shape, and get ready to roll into the season. Players remained on the practice field Monday until it got too dark to see at around 8:30 p.m. The players worked another half hour inside. Coach Owens said there were about 50 varsity players present Monday, and he said a couple are missing. The Wildcats have about 35 seniors. There were 55 JV players at practice Monday, with about 10 missing, and freshman numbers total just short of 60. On the practice field, the Wildcats had 1 hour of offense, 1 hour of defense, with some time for conditioning and special teams. Coach Owens said he prefers to practice on grass, especially with the weather as good as it was Monday. That doesn't mean that he doesn't appreciate the multipurpose building when the heat dominates or lightning is around. The Wildcats will be able to wear pads as of Wednesday, but they won't be able to hit each other. They can strike sleds or padded items. Contact and pads will start Saturday.
Thanks for watching Channel 18 News. Have a great evening.